Hello and welcome. Before we begin, we'd like to take a brief moment to share an important disclaimer. The views, opinions, and statements expressed on the Rascals Lounge podcast are solely those of the host and guests and do not reflect the views of any organization, employer, or sponsor. This podcast is provided as is and is intended solely for informational and entertainment purposes. Discussions on this podcast may include topics such as politics, vaccines, the pharmaceutical industry, professional sports, esports professionals and organizations, content creators, music, medicine, law, science, psychology, herbal medicine, supplements, cannabis, nicotine, alcohol, religious leaders, faith-based beliefs, and other related subjects. All commentary is based on publicly available information, personal experience, or personal opinion. Any references to public figures, political parties, politicians, athletes, organizations, religious groups, or individuals, living or deceased, are opinion-based and are not intended as factual claims or statements that could harm reputations. No content on this podcast is meant to defame, discredit, or negatively impact the reputation of any person, group, political party, religious faith, or entity. The host and guests expressly disclaim all liability for defamation, libel, slander, or any misinterpretation of the views expressed. This podcast does not provide professional advice of any kind. Comments or discussions involving doctors, scientists, psychologists, attorneys, athletes, religious leaders, politicians, or other professionals, including those related to health, training, injuries, performance, the pharmaceutical industry, herbal remedies, supplements, cannabis, nicotine, alcohol, vaccines, or alternative treatments, are intended for general informational purposes only. Listeners should never start, stop, or alter any medication, treatment plan, religious practice, legal action, financial decision, or substance use based solely on content heard on this podcast. Always consult with a licensed professional or qualified advisor in the relevant field before making any decisions related to health, law, religion, finance, or lifestyle. The host and guests make no representations or warranties regarding the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of the information presented, and disclaim all responsibility for errors, omissions, or outcomes resulting from the use of this content. The podcast and its content are provided as is, without any express or implied warranties of any kind. By listening to, reading, or otherwise accessing this podcast, you acknowledge and agree that the Rascals Lounge podcast, including its host and guests, shall not be held liable for any interpretations, actions, or consequences resulting from the content of this program. We strongly encourage all listeners to think critically, do their own research, and form independent judgments before acting on any topic discussed. Listener discretion is advised. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Rascals Lounge podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rascals Lounge podcast. Well, today we got a special guest. One of my buddies recommended this gentleman to come on the pod, and I did some research, and I believe what he brings to the table, it should be implemented in every school in the United States. My friends, I'm going to introduce you to Jason Polinski. How you doing, Jason? How's everything?
I'm good. Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing good. For the people around the world that's listening, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I recently retired law enforcement. To backtrack, grew up playing football and hockey, and originally really loved the outdoors and thought it'd be fun to work in a field you love, and didn't realize that chemistry and math were involved in that field, so I didn't do too well academically. So I ended up changing my major, and a class called criminology. I had to do a ride along with a police officer, and that kind of opened my eyes to, wow, you get paid to do this. It was a interesting take on making money doing something that you can have an impact in your community, also an impact on others' lives, and it was very appealing to me. But became an officer back in 1995, and just recently retired this past year after 30 years. During the course of my career, I got the opportunity to do a gauntlet of different things, from patrol to school resource officer to undercover narcotics, sergeant, lieutenant investigations, street crimes, mental health team. Just I was blessed with the opportunity to wear many hats over the course of my career. When I was a school resource officer, I think something just kind of hit. It was right after Columbine, and I'm looking at the sea of children, of 2,100 kids, and thinking in the back of my mind, I'm the only lifeline they have if something should happen. And it also made me feel vulnerable because if something does happen, I'm probably the first on the list. And it was there was no response at that time to it. All they did was lockdown, and so I got really heavily involved in teaching active shooter response to first responders and kids and teachers. And in about 2014, I'm recognizing that the response is crap. And I'm telling my kids to do one thing, but I'm teaching others to do something else. And so decided to make a change because nobody was doing anything about it. So we being me and my partner, Peter Matos, who was also law enforcement and with a background in SWAT and defensive tactics, decided to take the response and literally put it on steroids and provide the tools and the resources for the actual stakeholders. And nobody was doing that. And the stakeholders are not the admin, and the stakeholders are not the parents. The stakeholders are the children, the teachers, and the police officers. And how do we take those three groups and enhance their response so they have a chance? And we created a system to do that. We provide cover, concealment, communication to all three of those groups and empower the teachers and the children to take their school back from an intruder and empower the police to have a much faster response, both before and during an incident. And it's a game changer. It changes outcomes drastically on the number of lives lost and people hurt by giving them those tools.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you for your service. 30 years, that's quite a bit.
Yeah, it was time to go.
Yeah. When you had the interest in getting into like what you're doing now, was it due to Columbine? That's what kind of like triggered it? Like, okay, I need to start doing something because if I don't do something, nobody's gonna do anything about it.
It was, I think, a reaction to a combination of things that it it was nobody was doing anything about it, and I got we've defined everything else in our world through definitions such as fire safety, um, car safety, airplane safety. I mean, everything has a definition, and all those definitions are backed by laws, ordinances, or policies. But yet, this topic, you'll see 150 different answers or different definition when you move across this country from district to district. You don't see the same system installed. It's based upon what that individual school board or superintendent thinks their definition of safety and security is. We just haven't defined it, and until we define it, we're going to continue to see the same problem. In fact, if you look at the fire safety systems, they're backed by fire code. And if you take a deeper dive into all of these definitions, there's one thing very strikingly similar. It's multi-layered. If you look at your car, people started to die in car accidents, so they put seatbelts in. When that didn't work enough, they put airbags in. That didn't work enough, they put lane sensors in there, and that didn't work enough. And the next thing you know, you're literally driving in this multi-layered security system to keep you alive from point A to B every day. You just don't recognize it.
Mm.
Fire code was written in the early 1900s and sat on a desk until 1958 because 95 children died in a school in Chicago. And then they finally said, you know what? Nobody's putting the right tools in, so we're going to make it a law and say you have to do these things because a group of really smart fire people knew what tools would prevent loss of life from a fire. And the fire code's been so successful that since they implemented the fire code, there's not been one loss of life to a child in this nation from a fire. So they took the leading cause of death in schools and eliminated it. But again, we keep rinsing, repeating the same thing over and over again, where people just accept that your building just got metal detectors and a camera system, well, therefore they're safe. Well, the problem with a camera system is it's not going to stop a bullet. A camera is really good to solve a theft, so don't call it security. It's evidentiary, and your metal detectors never 100% fully guarantee it's going to recognize a weapon, but a metal detector is never going to stop a bullet. It's not helping the kids. It's peace of mind, and a false sense of security that provides the administrators the opportunity to tell their parents that they're doing everything they can. Artificial intelligence, I mean, visitor management, these are all day-to-day operation things that they do not address the safety concerns for teachers and children. So it, we just keep putting the same crap in buildings and calling it security. And it
Mm.
needs to be defined, and it needs to be, um, and I hate to say it, but it needs to be forced. It needs to be a system much like the fire system, designed by.
Upgrade your screen time, whether you're gaming, working, or just browsing, with Gamer Advantage blue light blocking eyewear. They are expertly crafted for gamers or for anyone that's in front of a screen for long hours. Featuring Resme lens technology, these glasses are engineered to minimize digital eye strain and shield your eyes from the detrimental effects of blue light. Doctor recommended, potentially boost focus, and significantly enhance sleep quality, ensuring you stay at the top of your game. Visit gameradvantage.com for more information and use promo code RASCALS at checkout to get 10% off your purchase. I do earn a commission when you use the promo code, which helps sustain and grow the podcast. Once again, visit gameradvantage.com for more information and use promo code RASCALS at checkout to get 10% off your purchase.
Professionals and experts that know what they're talking about, and stop listening to educators and architects on what they think the definition is.
You know what's really crazy? You mentioned that it seems like they put more emphasis into one thing than the other. Like they'll put more emphasis into the fire related stuff, but when it comes to shooting and guns, it's totally different. It's not the same code for every state.
No, there is no code for it, and that's why we're relying on people to provide safety and security for our kids that haven't even taken a course in a security class. They've never, it'd be like asking your dentist to design you a golf course, or build you a pool.
Yeah.
It literally, your tooth hurts, so you go to your doctor. Not, it's we're not asking the right people, and the right people aren't being allowed to talk on it for a magnitude of reasons. To be honest, it's become extremely political. Um, that's the sad part, and the frustrating part is the lives of our kids are being politicized to a point where nobody can make up their mind, and all we end up with is a 30-year discussion about guns. Shut up. Let's provide something for the kids tomorrow. You guys can argue about that for the next 30 years, but shut up. Let's give them a system tomorrow. We can do it, but it
Yeah.
just keeps going.
It's so sad because it never ends, and then each time I'm looking at the news or I see something popping up, there's a school shooting, and I'm like, "What the heck is going on here? And why isn't this in taken care of?" It's like you said, it's getting very political now, it's like I just can't grasp it. Thank God, I mean, I see a police officer at my kid's school, and I thank him every day for coming, for being there. But a lot of schools, I don't see police officers.
No, and even being a former school resource officer, I can tell you, there could be 50 shots going off in a part of the building, and I would never know what's going on. I mean,
Oh, wow.
the it's just the reality of it. So you're still responding. So you have to ask, if something happens, is the good gun going to be where the bad gun is when it's needed? And the answer is no, it's not. And you still have that response. So you have this window of minutes, and minutes matter, seconds matter, of just fish in a barrel. There's no response to them, and they're literally sitting ducks until the good gun can get to where the bad gun is. Now, if the good gun is on campus, that that saves time, but again, a good gun can't be everywhere. It's no different than a community. At a grocery, you can't predict things are going to happen, and the element of surprise is always in the favor of the bad guy.
Now, what's your opinion about teachers having their own firearm in campus?
World's stupidest idea. And I'm a 2A guy. I have many guns. I think everybody should be allowed to have a gun. I don't think, quite frankly, that'll ever happen. But as far as arming teachers, people need to look into that a little bit more than just making the comment of it. And there's a magnitude of reasons why, and I'll give you a few. The first one is qualified immunity. Are we going to give teachers qualified immunity? Qualified immunity is basically what police officers are granted, that if we end up taking a life, we can't be sued civilly. If you don't have qualified immunity and you're a teacher per se, and you take a life with a firearm, you open up your personal checkbook to being sued and your livelihood being taken from you. So that is a huge fear I have for teachers getting involved in that. Um, the other thing that have we asked the teachers, do they want to? And I have. And I would say 99% of them want nothing to do with it. They didn't sign up for this. So we're making an assumption that all these teachers want to do it. And now you got to look at the physiological response to stress. I mean, I was in a shooting, and I know what it's like to have bullets whizzing by your head. I know
Oof.
what it's like to feel time slow down to a snail space pace. I know what the tunnel vision is like, and the loss of your fine-tuned motor skills and your ability to decision make under that much stress is real. Are teachers willing to take a life? Can they physically do it during stress?
Mm.
And then you're looking at gun retention. You know, can you fight with one hand so you never lose that weapon? Even first aid. Are we going to train them medically as well? Because you, by law, have to provide first aid if you put lead into somebody.
Right.
And we're going to give them a use of force continuum where all of a sudden a situation where deadly force is authorized turns into non-deadly, and you have no up and down use of force continuum. So are we going to give them less lethal? Are we going to give them a taser, pepper spray on top of the firearm? Just overall, ask insurance companies what they think of it. Ask the teachers what they think of it. Ask the teachers' unions what they think of it. It's a concept that a lot of people throw out with a whole lot of lack of thinking into the actual implementation of that idea. I just think there's schools that are doing it, and I think it's a matter of time before some teachers end up getting jammed up.
Mm.
For whatever reason, I do know there was an armed security guard that left their weapon in a bathroom after using the toilet, and a student found it and brought it to the principal's office and said, "I found this in the bathroom." I carried a gun for 30 years. Um, it's it's a pain in the ass. I mean, it's burdensome, and I could see a teacher saying, "Geez, this I don't want to wear this. I'm gonna take it off for a little bit and put it in their desks." There's
Mm.
just the one thing I was taught in skills is every call you go to, there's always a gun there and it's yours. don't lose it. And I've been in fights before where I had people trying to get my gun out of my holster, and it's not an easy fight, because you can punch me, but you're not getting my gun. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think teachers are built for it. I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of conceal and carry are built for it. They may think they are, but are you willing to pull that trigger and take a human life? It's a big decision, and it will affect you the rest of your life.
Yeah, and in knowing the fact that majority of these school shootings are by other teenagers. Far as what I've been seeing, the and you could correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't see, like, grown adults coming in. I see, like, kids from that same school coming in and shooting up, doing.
It varies. There have been adults that have gone in, especially when there's domestic issues going on, child custody issues, and there's been incidents where a dad has gone into a school with whatever reason it may be. There's also been, I know the last 10 or 11, they didn't even go to that school. You talk about threat assessments and mental health. Well, how do you assess somebody that you don't even know exists? They, for whatever reason, um, and then you do have a lot that are kids that do go to the school, but it's such a gauntlet of different suspect patterns that it's really hard to predict. I will say the last pattern I think we've all seen, and I actually posted this when it was the fourth one, but it got up to 10, and 9 out of 10 and the were transgender. So
Mm,
you got to throw in, I mean, that's probably the biggest pattern that we see. And again, it's been the last 9 of 10 were transgender and transgender adults. So you can kind of piece that pattern together, but prior to that, transgender wasn't really talked about, and I don't know the answer what prior to those 10 were. But when the one that wasn't was non-binary, which I don't even know what that means. But
yeah.
so I obviously, if you're taking lives, there's mental health issues, but to
Yeah.
predict it and predict who, it's impossible.
Yeah, I think there was one not too long ago. Someone came into a little kids' school, little Catholic children's school.
Yeah, that was up here.
Wait, where?
Annunciation. He shot
Oh,
through. He never entered the building. He shot through a window during their church service and killed two little kids. Again, they didn't know this person exists, and the element of response is, how are you supposed to respond to that? Even if there's an armed person there, I mean, what are you going to do? The kids had no tools whatsoever.
yeah. Oh my goodness. I mean, as a father, I see this stuff and I'm like, trust me, I'm praying every day, for all the kids because my heart just goes out and I just don't know what to do. I
And
honestly don't know what to do, and I'm in the state of Florida, and, I pray to God that, governor does something, gets real strict about it, gets strong, because over here where I'm at, we have incidents that there was, not school shootings, but kids getting caught bringing guns to school. One, with my daughter, they had they called the parents, everything. They did a lockdown because one kid brought a gun to school. We found out that the kid was being bullied, so he brought a gun to shoot the bully. It's like, what the heck? Thank God he didn't. But still, you know, these little
it's
kids don't know how
scary.
to control a gun, and the bullet could fly out and hurt another kid.
Yeah, it's a concept that unfortunately, um, when I was growing up, my biggest fear was being kidnapped. Um, I'm in my early 50s, and I grew up during the Jacob Wetterling incident of Jacob being abducted and missing, and that was my fear and my generation's fear. Never had a fear of an active shooter. didn't even know what that was. I mean, it happened, but we never heard about it. Now these kids, their biggest fear, and teachers, is this whole topic. And teachers are self-improvising with a baseball bat in the corner or bear spray in their top drawer. And it's they're doing things that make them feel better, but you don't bring a bat to a gunfight, and it's embarrassing that we have fixed everything in society and we have defined everything, but we have yet to fix this. And we as a society are smarter than that. Right now, we are literally living the definition of insanity every time there's a school shooting. It's the same thing every time. A day or two of grieving, followed up with a day or two of a demand for action, followed up by 9 months of a gun control debate. And then, unfortunately, I'm actually doing a tour to 2 Catholic schools up here after this interview that are putting our system into their schools. And unfortunately, without the Annunciation shooting that we just spoke about, our phone doesn't ring. So why does it take dead children to happen? And why is there a 2-week window where everybody cares and it just goes away? Our phone doesn't ring in July, I've experienced this for 10 years now. The only time our phone rings is after there's dead children. And people need to stop being so damn reactive and
Yeah.
start getting proactive on this. Let's do something before it happens. A lot of decision makers, politicians, education decision makers, they hope it doesn't happen. And hope is not a good plan. Hoping something, I hope I don't get killed today on my way to work. Well, sorry, but shit happens. You might get in a bad crash. You can't control that. But you're driving around a car that has a whole bunch of things just in case it does. We
Yeah.
put some layers of safety here for you. But this one, the only time we talk about it is after there's dead kids.
It,
And
it's
shame
sad.
on us as adults that
Yeah.
we're being reactive, and then we try to fix what just happened. And an example of that, after Columbine, lockdown was born because Harrison Klebold wanted everybody to run out the door. Sandy Hook, then it was visitor management because Adam Lanza came through the front door and broke the windows open. After Uvalde, it was single point entry because the suspect at Uvalde came through an open door in the back. If an intruder ever decides to do something and they make entry through the roof, we're going to have 10 months of roof security. We got to quit trying to fix what just happened and look at it from a holistic approach. You can't predict where it's going to happen. If it's a chemistry room, it's the front door, it's a side door, it's the gymnasium. You gotta supply the tools and the response to the entire building, and quit trying to fix what happened, and kind of stop this whole process of wash, rinse, repeat. And we need to have a paradigm shift mentally on how to tackle this.
Well, I always say Noah built the ark before the storm. Okay. So we got to prepare before the storm. And it's sad because it's like you're saying, people just start responding when something bad happens. Don't freaking do that. I mean, all these, is it the school district that calls you, or is it the school themselves? I mean, who is it that's calling you like, okay, now we want your help? Or is it the
Well, what's interesting
mayors?
is now, because the last incident happened at a Catholic school, I literally have 3 different Catholic schools that are wanting to put our system in. I don't think these Catholic schools reach out to us if that shooting doesn't happen. If it's a public school, then we get our phone rings from public schools, and it's even the trend I'm noticing. It's so specific. Let's say if something happened at a mosque, well, then they'll reach out to us. But it's it's incident based on the responses that we get, and I think people need to step back and actually just take a look into the history of school shootings, and they'll be shocked that the first recorded shooting was in the late 1700s. And people say, I can't believe it's come to this. And I'm going, I can't believe we haven't fixed this yet. It's been around for over 200 years. This has been going on in our country, and we just keep doing the same damn thing. And again, I can't believe it's come to this. Well, I can't believe we haven't addressed it yet. And we keep doing the same damn thing over and over again and wishing for a different or hoping for a different outcome. We really need a paradigm shift in the response.
We sure do. And this is all across the United States. I hope that your system goes all over. I mean, it is sad because it's like I feel like certain states and certain counties are like, oh, well, that doesn't happen over here. You just
It,
never know. You
I,
just
I've
never
been
know.
I've been told by a couple superintendents that believe in what we're doing that most school districts, if the fire code wasn't implemented, um, the majority would take their chances that a fire won't happen here, and they would just bypass the whole fire suppression system, hoping that it wouldn't happen here and saving money on a whim of hope. And a lot of people look at, well, how expensive your system sounds expensive. Well, it's less than your fire suppression system costs. It's less than your artificial turf football field and stadium. It's less than your swimming pool you put in. So define expensive. These parents will vote for a brand new sporting facility at the drop of a hat. They're not even being allowed to vote on, do I want my kids safe, because they get to decide what we vote on. And then I just saw a referendum passed for, I think it was over $200 million, and part of the money was going to school security. Well, the parents never asked, what does that mean? And their definition of security was brighter parking lot lights and camera upgrades. And I got it. You use that word, but again, you're not defining it. What
Yeah.
in the blue hell are brighter parking lot lights going to do to keep my child alive? Parents need to, and people need to, don't just read it.
Yeah.
Look into it. What are you talking about? What do you mean by security? What is it? And what are you providing my child that's going to stop a bullet?
Mm,
And if the answer is nothing, then stop using that word.
yeah. Wow, that's wild. So now you came up with a 3D response system, or is that what you did that in partner with somebody else?
And me and my partner came up with it.
Okay. Now, how different is it compared to probably others? I don't know if there's any others out there, but how is it that yours is like more efficient to you? What is it that yours is? What does it do? Is it linked up with security or cameras? Is it linked up with what does it actually do?
It's the only thing out there that provides the resources for, again, the stakeholders being the kids, the teachers, and the police officers. It's it it's the only thing that tactically looks at what do we need in this moment to survive this assault. And when you work in law enforcement, you learn very quickly. An interesting stat I came across. I before I retired, I got into force on force training, which is basically simunitions rounds. And you send cops into scenarios like clearing a building or an active shooter, but everybody has a simunition gun. And it stings and leaves a bruise. When you get hit by it, it hurts. But the design of it is to teach officers, um, if you expose a part of your body from cover, you want them to feel that, like, get your ass behind cover. You just got shot. So if you're ever involved in a shooting and you have cover, concealment, and communication available to you, your chance of surviving that is 87% or higher. If you don't have cover, concealment, and communication, your chance of survival is around 17%. That is a monstrous gap in your ability to walk away from a situation. So we took the cover which is something that will stop a bullet, concealment, which means I can't see you, and then live active communication, much like a dispatching police to a call. We take those three C's and we provide that to every square inch of that building in some fashion. So when the worst happens, you have cover, concealment, and communication, and your chance of survival because you have those threes has jumped up drastically. And that's what our system is. We create a multi-layered system that provides those three C's, and we rely on it. Law enforcement, the military relies on it. Um, it's a game changer. Yeah, and if you got to see our system in action, um, you would look at this and go, "My God, what a difference!" Because you're safe, and it's not a false sense of safe. You're actually safe.
Oh, wow. Now you making me uh wanting to talk to my to the dean of my school, my child's school, and tell
Do it.
them about this. Yeah, of course. I mean, geez,
Actually, your
what a,
your governor mentioned there's a bill in Minnesota called the Shield Act that's based on our system. And the last presidential campaign, DeSantis was in Iowa, and somebody asked a question on school safety, and he said the blueprint's already there. It's called the Shield Act. So he knows about it. He said it in his speech in Iowa.
yeah,
Now I don't know what your
yeah. If
state's
he's
doing
gonna,
about it, but again, I think like I said, everybody has their own definition.
and it is true that you what you're saying, because a lot of these schools they'll spend money on field and tracks and pools or whatever. They spend money on a basketball court and all this, but I mean, they cost thousands of dollars, but they don't just for security, they just don't do it.
No,
Now
and what they'll do is you know, the squeaky wheel gets the lube, and if something happens, parents go and they start bitching, like, do something. So these school boards will just, take the lowest hanging fruit or the flavor of the month, which right now is artificial intelligence, and they'll throw it in there, um, thinking that, okay, we did what you asked, but the problem is they're not doing their research on what's actually going to save a child's life. Like artificial intelligence, it's not part of our system, and there's a reason for that. It's not proven enough. It's expensive as hell, especially it's not the install that's expensive. It's the data storage and the maintenance, and it's almost like a cell phone subscription where it's not a one-time payment. I know with police body cameras, the biggest expense we had wasn't buying the cameras, it was the storage of data. I mean, you're talking 60 grand a month to store all these images, and it's not, it's just not proven. And again, artificial intelligence is nothing more than a high dollar metal detector. It's not answering, okay, this person might have a gun. My computer told me this. Okay, now what? What do we do now? So, okay, you recognized a gun. What's your response? Run, hide, fight? You haven't done anything. You haven't provided my child any tools whatsoever. You provided a possibility that some magical software recognized a gun. You haven't stopped the bullet. So is it really security? It can go off and you can still have 15 kids dead. So you really didn't do anything to provide my child's safety. You just provided an alert system.
now, question, does this only work for schools? Can this work also for, like, any type of other buildings or workplace?
Yeah. We we started this with the whole thought process was keeping our kids safe. And that was, but very easily we could transition, and we've talked about that as a company too. Up here there was a guy that came to his doctor's office and shot it up. And yeah, we could very easily implement the system in any type of building, it's the same philosophy. It's just our team goes there and they look at the layout, they walk it, and they're using a tactical mindset on how do we provide the resources for this space. And you design the system, and it's very customizable. It's not a cut and paste. It's very specific to that building. It's like the of the 17 buildings that were installed in, or 17 schools right now, there's open concepts, there's traditional concepts, there's one school with a lot of glass, and every building is different to achieve the goal, which is that cover, concealment, communication. And in the same breath, we don't want to lose the appearance of the learning environment. So everything's hidden. So you don't, the Democrats like to say, I don't want my building to look like a prison. And that's the big misconception when they hear about our system. And when we talk, well, we have ballistic panels and magnetic pressure doors, and well, we don't want our building to look like a prison. And, come see it. You can't even tell it's there. You literally cannot see it.
Wow. That's amazing. I think that should be, wow. That's pretty neat. And if it could be in any institution, in any type of building, especially in hospitals, because I work in the medical field now, and we always get these alarms going off, and these codes, and I always worried. And they do this the run, hide, and fight type of thing, and a lot of us is saying, listen, if there's a guy with a gun, you're gonna go fight? What are we gonna do? You can't fight a guy with a gun. You're unarmed. What are you gonna
No,
do?
run, hide, fight is nothing more than fight or flight. It's just I taught it for years, and after 2014, I refused to teach it. I don't believe in its concept. I remember telling my kids, if something happens, I want you to literally do not listen to your teacher. I want you to run as fast as you can, and I want you to keep running. And I want you to go to a neighborhood and you find a house and you bang on that door and ask for help. But the building does not support the concept of run, hide, fight. And imagine, look at Minnesota. Imagine it's the middle of January. There's 25 inches of snow on the ground, and you're a kindergartner teacher, or you're a second grade teacher, and you're going to take 30 little kids and run, and it's 20 below zero outside. Or even, let's say it's warm and you're in Florida. You know, under stress, it's about the equivalent of herding cats. You can't
Yeah.
organize that fast enough. And you're talking, going back to the physiological response, you're talking, how is the teacher going to respond to that moment of stress, and how let alone, or how are 30 little human beings going to respond to that stress? Are they going to be even able to listen? We did an interesting, a few years back, the big trend was these phone apps. In case of a shooter, open your phone and go into this app. Okay, how is that going to stop anybody? But okay. And there, I think, in like New Jersey made it a, um, a law of some sort that all public schools had to have this phone app, and that was their definition of school safety at the time. So we tried to see if it was effective. So what we did was we had 5 people, non law enforcement, just 5 civilians, and they just sat next to each other, and we said, I want you to pull out your phone and call somebody, find their name, dial their number. And I'm going to be walking around you with a 12 gauge with blanks. I'm going to be firing this gun, and I want to see. And not one of them could even get their phone open.
Yeah, the
That
nerves.
first boom, you saw that reaction, and the body's reaction to that fear, and they knew it. And it's safe. Nobody's gonna get hurt. I just want to see if you can do it, and they couldn't. So you got to take that part of it into consideration when I talk about your physiological response to stress. They couldn't even open their phone. So, and when I was teaching Run, Hide, Fight to teachers, their biggest concern was the multiple choice suggestions under stress. Do I do A, B, or C? They hated it. They absolutely hate it, and I did too. You don't see that same response with fires. It's a keep it simple, stupid response, because under stress you don't want a multiple choice test.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I really hope. Do you see that there's certain governors that are more open to it with your 3D response system versus others? Or you just seeing like, because like everything's kind of like political, and a lot of these politicians believe that, oh well, our we just have to ban all guns from every state. Then you have some politicians that believe in the amendment, we have the right to bear arms, and then you have some others that don't believe in this. Like you said, DeSantis is more open to it. He agree with Shield. You think
To be
this is going
honest, what I'm seeing the problem is two extreme visions. You have one vision that is, we need to get rid of every gun ever known to man, and nobody can ever. I mean, that's one side, and then you have the other side of extreme where everybody has a gun, and that'll solve everything. And there's no common sense ground between those two extreme thoughts, and there's a lot of passion behind it. And I guarantee you, some of your listeners are going to listen to me and kind of go, I mean, they're so stuck in their ways, whether it be ban all guns or whether it be put guns everywhere. And there's not a whole lot of discussion going back to that paradigm shift. People need to stop looking at this emotionally and start looking at it tactically and constructively. And then how does it fit within our society? Both sides. And until people can get off of their emotional thought process on what would work, we're going to keep having these arguments. And it's not just politics; it's also it's society in general, and that comes with everything. Is where you just have people that you can't get them off of a topic, and they refuse to educate themselves anymore. And when we talked about Army teachers and just the concept of qualified immunity, a lot of people go, I never thought of that. And those are the types of topics you have to think about before you stand on that mountain to die for, that this is my decision and you can't change my mind. And I look at it more from the lens of, if I'm little Jason and I'm in 3rd grade, is a gun going to matter, or is a system that can be deployed in 15 seconds that'll keep me alive, is that the better answer, and why? And then you break it down, and like I said, it goes again. I've carried a gun my entire life, and in my shooting, I thank God I had cover, or I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I mean, it saved my life. And the first school we installed in was a little, about 150, small school, 150 kids, private Christian Academy was the name of it. And we presented to the school board. Private schools, their school boards are our parents, and there's not a whole lot of politics in private schools. It's night and day different when I talk to a private versus public school. And they go, how do we not do this? And they raised the money in 5 weeks. And we were installed probably 6 weeks after that. And their waiting list has shot up 140%. They've done 4 additions to their school to keep up with the demand, because every time a new family would come and think about taking their kids to that school, they would come visit and ask, what are you doing for security? And they would get a 60-minute walkthrough of 9 different layers in their building and the system that's been created. And the parents are like you said, you drop your kid off of school and just hope that nothing happens that day. versus you drop your kid off at school. In the back of your mind, that building is ready. If something happens, I have the peace of mind that my kids have ballistic walls, for God's sakes. They're going to be okay. It's, I think that's very telling onto itself that if my kids were starting over again, they'd be going to a school with our system in it.
Wow. Now, question: has your system ever been used before? Like, say, for instance, you implemented it, put one in a school, and it had been used. Like somebody afterwards
No.
came with the okay.
No, but I will say our system has been installed in schools that have had multiple threats of active shooters.
Okay, so it's been okay. So thank
And
God.
that's another misconception too, is so over the course of 20 years, I was either a school resource officer or supervised the school resource officer program. And I've been involved in probably over 60 active shooter threats to that school district. We averaged about 5 active shooter threats a year. And that's just one district. There's a misconception how often these things happen. They happen way more than people know.
It happens a lot.
And the one thing that bothered me was one year I was supervising 3 school resource officers, and they did a phenomenal job with, I think, 4 legitimate threats. And they had the person making the threats in custody before school started the next day. And at the end of the year, I said, can you put together an end of year report on your school resource officer year? And they did, and all 4 or 5 of those incidents were outlined. And I gave it to the superintendent, and the superintendent said, Jason, we can't give this to the parents. And I said, why not? I'm looking at this. They did a good job, and it shows how safe and proactive you guys are. He said, well, we're going to scare them. They can't know that this happens. And I went, well, how are you going to fix something if nobody knows it's a problem?
Exactly.
At any given time, one of those could slip through the cracks.
You know how I found out about certain things? Because my kids tell me.
Yep. Yeah.
And I was like, the school doesn't tell us. The security
Well, then
never
on top
calls.
of it, when they do finally say something, it's the same damn message. We at such and such a school district take your kids' safety is our number one priority. Well, bullshit. If you did, you'd be actually doing something. Stop that comment every time I see it across this nation. We take your kid's life, your number one priority. No, you just spent $60 million on a new football stadium.
I think one life is too much.
100%, yeah, it is.
One life is too much, and I think that every school should have this system. Like the way you're. I mean, I've been reading your Twitch feed and all the stuff that you talk about and how the 3D response system works. It's like really, really neat. I think every school in the United States of America should have it.
Well, here's the biggest thing with our system, and if anybody wants to see what we're talking about, it's at www.3dresponse.com. And at the end of the day, what our system provides is the ability for a teacher and a group of and the whole school to recognize a threat and take their school back in 60 seconds with police on the way. And right now, what we see is an active shooter takes over that building through fear and a weapon until they say it's over. And with our system, within a minute, that entire building, which was a target-rich environment, becomes target-less in 60 seconds. It literally takes the whole gun topic out of the conversation.
Wow.
Because now every kid literally has the tools at their disposal to not get killed. And in my years of training active shooter response, the first time I saw our system deployed in a training session at a school with 2,000 kids, and I watched that school literally turn into a ghost town, and every kid had cover concealment and ongoing communication within 60 seconds. That was never possible before this. So seconds matter. And the faster you can get those 3 Cs, the more likely you're going to live. And the element of surprise is always with the bad guy. But how do you take that element of surprise back and say, not today? Because we have a system that can respond to you.
Wow. Now, if a school decides to put 3D response system in their schools, how long does it take to install this whole entire system in there? Does it take like weeks, or is it a month, or is there? I mean, I'm sure there's probably a little bit of training involved as well for the teachers and the principal and the deans.
Yeah. So it there's a lot of factors that go into it, but I would say within 4 months it's completed and trained. It's the Christian Heritage Academy, that was about 5 weeks and it was done. It's not, there's a lot of variables, like, we can install during the school year. It's a very non-intrusive install. A lot of variables in that, but it's not a lengthy, it doesn't take, an entire school year to be done.
Okay.
Like building a house,
Yeah.
4 months or so.
4 months or so. Okay, that's good. So it's pretty quick. It doesn't take that long.
No.
Doesn't take that long then.
And we're
So
not like a camera system company or a AI company where, like, okay, you bought, here's the stuff you bought. Bye. Have a good day.
this AI, I don't know. A lot of these people are trusting so much in freaking AI, and I'm really skeptical.
When it comes to my life, no, I don't want anything that's battery operated. I want sticks and stones. I want
Yeah.
shit that's proven to work. Murphy's
Yeah.
Law does exist, and that's why we have 9 different layers in our system, and every single one of those layers we have beat the shit out of, blown up, shot to. I mean, our research and development is actually a lot of fun, but we've tested everything, and I don't trust technology when you need it. I don't trust it.
Yeah.
That's why cops carry Glocks. You can
I
dip those
totally
damn
agree.
things in concrete and they'll still shoot.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, is 3D response only for the United States? Can it be also be implemented in Canada or other
Yeah, we could
countries?
probably do. I mean, we're set up now with an infrastructure to go anywhere within the United States, but
Okay.
we're focused on our country right now. Right now the battle is just getting the Shield Act to pass in Minnesota that makes our system part of a building code, and we can finally stop the discussion. So that's my focus right now. There's a lot of support legislatively for it because of the Annunciation shooting, and our governor's now pushing banning weapons like hard, and refuses to even talk about, hey, there's this system in your state here in quite a few schools. You might want to take a look at it, and there's a bill at your desk if you want to sign it. But our governor's a complete, just leave it alone.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of know.
And nickname's Tampon Tim for a reason.
Yeah, for a reason. Jeez. I don't know how he got even voted in. I mean, that's my opinion. I don't know. And I don't know how.
No, it's our state. If you're in Florida,
Yeah. I'm staying here.
smile. Just smile.
Yeah. I'm staying here.
Well, a lot of people are moving to your state in Texas and
Yeah.
from my state.
And you know what's crazy? My stepfather's from Minnesota, and I've been into the Metrodome back. I mean, now it's a new one, but back in the '90s when the Minnesota Twins won 97, 98, something like that. I forgot those
No, I
years.
was when they won the World Series.
Yeah.
But that was the 80s.
Was it the '80s or was it 98, 97? It was with Jeff Reardon. Reardon,
Yeah,
the pitcher. It
Kent
was back in
Hrbek,
those
Kirby
days.
Puckett, Danny
Kirby
Ladden.
Puckett. Yeah.
I went to a World Series game at the Dome. I was in middle school. That was in the '80s, but there was a couple times they won. Maybe the second one was in the early '90s.
Yeah, I think it was in the early. I mean, I'm gonna look that up. It was 90. Jeez. Okay, they won in 87 and they won 91. It wasn't in I think it was 1991. And that year I went to see them play. So, I mean, I had a good time. I liked Minnesota. It was
Well, Minnesota was
beautiful.
still Minnesota back then.
How in the world was it a Republican state? Was it a red state or
It's
did it
been
shift?
blue as long as I can remember, but I can tell you not only our state, but most blue states, if you look at the electoral map, the entire state's red with the exception of 3 counties. And those 3 counties make up the number of electoral votes you win those 3 counties, you win the state. So
Oh,
our state, I think, mm, is red.
yeah.
We have 3 very densely populated jurisdictions that are blue, and the rest of the state doesn't have the number of electoral votes to change those 3 counties. Well, you drive in Minnesota, you drive out of the metro, and I don't think I saw the whole thing was Trump signs from 2016 to today. I just went down and put up some deer tree stands yesterday, and I'm driving, and there's Trump signs everywhere. It's the how can I say this? I don't care. The stupidness is isolated to certain areas, but no, I do think the overall feel of Minnesota at its core is conservative.
Yeah, I do too. Cause I remember my stepfather, I mean, he's a retired Navy man, so I was a Navy brat for many years. He's been in the Navy for God knows. I think he did 30 some years as well in the Navy. And and he was very conservative. Very. So I remember when I was young, he was teach me a little bit here and there about politics. So I was like, man, Minnesota, why is Minnesota so to him? I just don't
I
get
was
it.
driving up north, northern Minnesota, and there was a billboard of all things of the picture of a guy with his head stuck in his butt, and it just said Governor Walls. And you can't, you see those things and you can't help but laugh, but then you wonder how did this guy keep? Why he continues to get elected, but you literally have a billboard of a guy with his
Yeah.
head shoved up his butt, and they're saying it's you. I don't know.
I honestly, I mean, I don't know. The He doesn't make sense. And then when I see him on the internet getting questioned, and I forgot what was her name. She just asked him, "What is a woman?" And he's like, well, I don't understand your question." It's like, hello, you're a governor and you don't know what is a woman?
I,
I would have said a woman doesn't have a prostate.
well, our state also
Does
believes that children, it's their right to be transgender, and we've become a sanctuary state for 12-year-olds to come to if they want a transgender surgery, and their parents won't let them. The state will take the children from them so the kids can get that transgender surgery. And that's the same mind we're dealing with here. It's I it's evil. I just don't. I
Yeah.
never in my life thought I would be. I didn't even know what a transgender was. Never in my life did I thought these topics would be a topic, but it is.
Yeah, likewise. Me here. I never heard of this type of stuff. And you know what's really crazy? I know some people that are, you know, gay, or they say we're part of the LBG. We're not in part of that T and the Q, whatever. And I'm like, okay, what do you think about this? It's ridiculous. So I don't agree with this, but we got to stay quiet because if we say something, we get attacked. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's fine. but no, the gay lesbian community, com- the ones that I've talked to, they think it's disgusting.
Yeah, they don't agree whatsoever.
No, I was, I'm okay with whatever you want to do as an adult. It's your decision,
Exactly.
but don't touch our kids. Now you're crossing the line. I don't, and stop ramming your ideas down my throat. As a country, we're pretty easygoing people. Um, and when you start ramming ideas down our throats, that at the core of our heart, you just don't mess with kids. That's just leave the kids alone. If they want to be something that they're not, I mean, thank God it wasn't around when I was little because I wanted to be a T-Rex. You know,
Yeah.
I, I might be walking around with really short arms right now. If-
I wanted to be Superman, and thank God I didn't try to jump off of a building.
no, just leave the kids alone. Let kids be kids.
Yeah, let them grow. Let them grow. I think at their age, I think after 18, they're an
Yeah,
adult.
have
Go
at it.
ahead, fine. Have at it. That's what you want to do. Are you sure? In my opinion, I think 18 is still too young. But because when I was 18, I did, I made a
Well,
big
no, I don't
mistake.
think your brain is fully developed until you're in your early 20s.
Yeah, mid 20s.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
when I was 18, I was an idiot. I mean, looking back, I wouldn't have hired me. I got hired as a cop at 22 years old, and I don't know if I would have hired me looking back. I'm not the same person I was, and I think just life makes you a better person. It makes you a
true.
better decision maker. And early 20s, it's fun, but you live life for the moment. You're not living life for next year at the time. It's just like what can I do now that's going to entertain me?
When I was 18, I thought I was like the adult and I knew what I was doing, and I told my mom I'm leaving the house, and I fell in love with this girl and immediately went and got married to her. Lasted 3 months. The marriage lasted 3 months. It got annulled. And I went back to my mom, and my mom said, "You see, it wasn't easy, wasn't it?"
Yeah.
Jeez,
But
mom,
when
I
you're
thought
young
I
and
said,
stupid, sometimes you got to fall on your face to learn.
young and stupid. You think you're an adult. You know everything. No, mom, I know what I'm doing. She loves me. I love her. Okay, fine. Go ahead. Because I'm young and I'm thinking about sex every day
Yeah,
and,
you didn't
all
love
this
her, you
stuff.
loved something else.
Oh my God. 3 months that lasted. And I just went back to my mom. I said, Mom, you were right. I'm so sorry. Okay, pack your stuff, put it inside your room again. I'm like,
The number of times I think people have said, "Mom, you were right." My wife just says, "That's right." But no, even looking back on like my view of my dad, I look back and how many things he told me that he was right, and I was too stubborn to listen, and thought I was smarter than him and I knew better. Nope, Dad, you were right. And the cool thing about my parents too is like, well, you don't believe me, go try it.
oh yeah. Those are the ones that like, and then when they say that to you, you like think about it twice. Damn,
Yeah.
why they're so like open for it, you know?
You ever seen that little skit where it was a 1980s um like toddler and he's playing with an outlet and
Oh, I
the
think I did.
2000 parent were like, don't do that, and they grabbed it, and the 80s parent was like, just let's see where this goes. Just you told him no, let's see where this goes. And then the kid gets shocked and the dad's going, he'll never do that again.
So true. Now, was your father a cop as well, or no?
No, my dad was in the Navy, and then he was a truck driver.
Oh, okay. Well, he was in the Navy, and he okay. So you were a Navy brat as well.
I was he was out of the Navy by the time I came around, but
Okay.
and then my grandparent was Army, World War II.
Hmm.
My son just got out of the Marine Corps. He did 4 years.
Really?
Now he's going to police training school. He wants to be a cop.
Okay. Good for him.
Good
and my
for
other
him.
son is he's in the trades doing HVAC.
Okay. So
And
your son he wants to be a cop, not go with you in the business here with 3D
well, they
response?
both they have to pay their dues first.
Okay. I see. It's the military upbringing you have in you. You got to work. You got to work for it. Then you can carry the business. Yeah. You need a you need to go out in the field.
Yes, you do.
I believe in that a lot. You know,
Well, it
my
makes you a better
kids.
person.
Yeah, it does. You gotta be out there. You gotta bleed a little bit, sweat a little bit,
Yeah,
learn what brotherhood is all about. Learn why
right.
these cops are out there defending each other, thick and thin. It's like my cousin. He went with this interview, and once he mentioned that he was a police officer for years, I think 5 years, something like that, in Puerto Rico, and then he did some security up in Afghanistan and help the Marines and all this and the Army. They just like, brother, you got the job. He had to show all those credentials and stuff, and they're like, you're one of us. You got the job. Forget it. You've been through there, through thick and thin. So I understand you. Well, Jason, I know the time is of essence, and I know you got a lot of things here. I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, and hopefully this won't be the only first or the last to bring you back on you in the future, and we could talk more about
Yeah, I'd love to.
how 3D response is going around and doing, and hopefully we get this across the whole entire country. I think every school should have this, and
That's the
thank you.
goal.
Yes.
It's been a fight, and I've gotten to a point now where I got no qualms having tough discussions with educational decision makers, because I look at it like I'm really fighting for the kids and the parents, and I'm coming from a place of trying to do something positive, and the parents don't have a voice because they don't know enough to have that voice. And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but it's really hard to argue with somebody that could be considered an expert in the topic. If parents just educated themselves on what safety is and how do we keep our kids safe, rather than relying on your school board to tell you what will. That's kind of what's missing. It's hard to argue with facts, and I come across a lot of people where I find myself repeating myself, and educating them on what do we need to do to give our kids a chance. And knowledge is power. But I will continue fighting for the kids, and I will continue to try to get this paradigm shift to happen.
And I believe God is on your side, brother. I
I
believe this
pray
is
he
why
is.
God is with you, and he's gonna uh, make your voice go through
I hope so.
the United States. I mean, it's a no brainer. I think this is something like if somebody comes up say, "Hey, we have something that is gonna protect your kids in school," I'm all up for it. Yes, but what is it? Tell me about it. I want to know. I want to learn. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And if it's
And
working and it's something that's really good, let's do it. Forget about it. I don't care. Let's put it in. Let's implement it.
yeah, and
But
unfortunately
now,
that knee jerk is why we're seeing the different, you know, flavors of the day stuff like artificial intelligence, and it's this new thing, and the bandwagon lasts for a little bit and then it just slowly disappears. So again, it goes back to in education, looking at this from a tactical point of view and looking at this from a common sense point of view, much like the fire system. Um, it was designed by fire professionals. It wasn't designed by politics. Hopefully, we don't have. My fear is history repeats itself, and There's a solution sitting out there and nobody wants it until there's 95 kids dead again. Why did it take 95 kids to die for them to implement a code that was so effective that one life has been lost since that code's been implemented? Why did it take 95 kids to die to do that? We need to stop being reactive.
And I'm gonna be really honest. This is your program, 3D response. It works for blue states and red states. This is not about politics. This is about safety, about children's safety for their kids. Doesn't matter what county you're in. This is to protect the children.
And I would never thought in a million years when we started this, we started with the intentions were to stop the killings. We didn't start this to debate. We started this to literally keep kids alive. And it's very sad that I end up in debates. Why are we debating this topic? And everybody's an expert. Everybody's a self-proclaimed expert, and they know more than you, and their opinion is gold to them. And we're too stubborn. We just need to step back and think about things and listen to people that have an idea what they're talking about. And I'm not saying I'm the end all know all on this topic, but I have a background that says I've lived it for a long time, and I know a thing or two about it, and I would never try to argue with a brain surgeon on how to perform his surgery. I've never done that. I mean,
Exactly.
the patient would be dead if it would not work.
Yeah.
But this topic, everybody's an expert.
Well, brother. Before we go, can you give everybody your socials, where they could find all your stuff online? Are you on Facebook or all your Twitter, everything?
And pretty much just X. It's 3D responses. Jason at 3D responses, and that's really the only social media. I do have a Facebook page, but it's more just personal. And then the website. If you do go to the website, 3dresponse.com, give it 5-10 minutes. There's a lot of information in there. It breaks down the system. There's a lot of videos you can watch on the system where you can actually see it in action. On the very front page, there's a news report on our system that's pretty explanatory. It's a 5-minute news clip. There's also, if you like it, there's a printable PDF that you can print off and bring to your school board, or you can bring to your legislator to see if they want to adopt the SHIELD Act in their state. So give it 5 minutes. It's so robust. It's hard to break down in 30 seconds. But if you want to learn more, that's where I would go.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, folks, please look it up, 3dresponse.com. Go to it and just give it the minutes he said, and remember, it's not about politics, it's about children's safety. It's to protect the kids in school. These kids are innocent and they're getting attacked, unfortunately. And this program is very beneficial. So please give it a look, and hopefully this gets implemented in every school in the United States. Okay. Well, Jason, thank you so much. God bless you. Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. God bless. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this episode on the Rascals Lounge podcast, and please don't forget to follow us on X and on your favorite podcast platform.